Yep, he saw me. There you go, guys. That's a fish. There you go, guys. That's unreal! Oh, this is such an awesome looking fish. Oh, yeah! Alright, guys, check that out.
What's up, everyone? Scott the TroutHammer here, and we got another top 5 video for you guys. Now, this is one that I've kind of hemmed and hawed on for the last couple months. Didn't know if I really wanted to do it. Didn't know if I didn't want to do it, but I was like, you know, it's been a while since I've done a top 5 video, so I should make one. And this is going to be the first one that doesn't involve lures. This is going to be the first one that involves respect. These are going to be things that a lot of fishermen don't want to be told, but they really need to be told, and especially people that are out in public areas around fishermen, they need to know these things too. If you guys want to see my other top 5 videos, they're all lure videos. This is the first one that isn't lures, like I said, but if you guys want to see my other top 5 videos, I got a link to the playlist somewhere up here. Before we get into the video, I am trying to get this channel to grow to 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that. So if you could please hit the subscribe button down there, that notify bell next to it, so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. When you subscribe to the channel, if your account setting is on public and I can read your name, I'll give you a shout out in the video I record over the weekend. And giveaways are returning once I figure out what I want to do for a giveaway. So these things we're going to talk about, these are probably the 5 core practices of my fishing life. I do not go to the water. I do not plan a trip. I don't even think about fishing without these 5 things top of mind. And I think in general, not only fishing and fishermen, but people who are around fishermen, like the whole world revolving around this would be a lot better if these 5 things were kept in mind too. Now, I made a video last year talking about fishing etiquette, and you know, some of these things are going to be involving fishing etiquette, but there are going to be some new things and some things we're going to go further deeper into. I can't really say these are in too much of a particular order, but I arranged them in what's important to me. So the number 5 respect that needs to be paid is respect other anglers. Now, these are going to go across all people, all facets of around fishing, but this is the one in particular that's definitely for everyone, is respect other anglers. If you come upon a fishing spot and you see someone fishing there and you ask to fish with him, that doesn't mean fish elbow to elbow with him. Give him like maybe 100 feet, him or her. Give them maybe 100 feet. Another thing, this is something that anglers understand, and they don't do this to each other, is they don't ask each other if they've caught fish. I'm not a superstitious man, but there is a superstition around it. It's something that I respect other anglers. If I see someone fishing, I don't run up to them and ask if they've caught anything. I just might ask, how's your day been? And if they've caught fish or if they haven't caught fish, they're happy to let me know. If they haven't caught fish, that's when that negative mindset sets in. The least important thing you need with you when you're fishing is that negative mindset. And they start thinking about how they haven't caught fish. It makes them upset, ruins their day. You don't really need to ask them that. And same with people who are just in public areas around fishermen. You don't need to ask if they've caught fish. Just ask them how their day is. Like I said, if we've caught fish, we'd be happy to tell you. One of the biggest things with respecting other anglers is obviously if you're like cast and retrieve fishing, you have so much of a risk of crossing each other's lines, tangling each other's gear, and even bait fishing. There's been plenty of times where you get to a spot, you know, E.E. Wilson, Junction City Pond, some of the more popular, more busy fishing areas are the biggest places where these instances happen, where you cross each other's lines, and if you're throwing out like a Carolina rig, if you're fishing with bait, you're laying on each other's bait, one guy catches a fish, the other guy thinks he has a fish, and eventually they're both fighting the same fish, and everything's just getting worse and worse. So respect other anglers, give them space, don't bother them, especially if you see them have a camera. Number 4 respect that fishermen need to pay is respect your gears. It's something that a lot of fishermen actually lose sight of when they're fishing, is how easy it is to mistreat your gear and disrespect your gear. And you're spending a lot of money, especially bass fishermen. We're spending a lot of money on this stuff, and to get frustrated and take it out of your gear, that's absolutely not your gear's fault. It's not the fish's fault. It's your fault. Don't take it out on your rods. Don't take it out on your line. Don't take it out on your lures. If you get a backlash, most of the time it's your fault. Now, I know because I have seen it happen, and it has happened to me where you go to cast and you snag on a nearby branch and that causes a backlash, you know. But if you get a backlash, don't throw your rod on the ground, don't break your stuff, don't throw a tantrum. Ask any artist, ask any, say, auto mechanic, how they feel about their tools, how they feel about the things that they have on hand that help them do their job better. They treat them with kid gloves, they treat them with the utmost care. Fishermen, we need to do the same thing with our gear. We need to store our gear better. That's why I have my gear stored the way I do. I keep my rods organized in a rod stand so they don't get tangled, so the guides don't get ruined, which is why I showed for a demonstration of what not to do, having a hook inside the guide of your rod. Never do that. They have hooks on the, like, near the reel of almost every single rod where you can store a hook, store a lure, so you don't have to put it inside the guide. You do that enough times, you're going to ruin the guide, your line's going to snap, you're going to lose fish, and you're going to find it a lot harder to fish with that rod. And if not, they make little clips that you can attach to a rod to allow you to hook a lure onto it. Just do that. Don't just pile your rods up in a corner. Don't just throw your gear in a box. You know, treat your gear like it has value to you and watch what happens. The difference in, I mean, it's part of that positive mindset. It's part of that care of everything we're going to talk about in this video is treating your gear like it means something to you. Go without saying, but it's stupid hard to catch fish on broken gear. Number 3 respect that fishermen need to pay, and this is one that really bothers me, is respect the land. Don't be a jerk. Don't throw garbage on the ground. If you clip off a part of line, don't just leave it on the ground. I fish a lot of places where there are a lot of geese, there's a lot of ducks, there's a lot of wildlife that will pick that stuff and eat it. And I mean, yeah, the animal's stupid for thinking that's food, but if humans didn't make that available for them, it wouldn't be an issue. Plus, it just dirties public places, doesn't make them as pleasant to be around, and you're losing money. I can't tell you how much money of free gear I found when I go out fishing. It's over probably like $400 worth of stuff that I've just found that people just leave. Kind of ties into respect your gear. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because really it's something that we're all adults. We should have this in our heads anyways. Don't litter. Don't be a jerk. Don't throw your garbage on the ground. Don't leave stuff on the ground when you go fishing. Pick up after yourself. Have respect for the land that you're going to fish on. Which goes right into my number 2 respect that fishermen need to pay, and that is respect the water. The same thing with the land. Don't throw your trash in the water. If you snag, try as hard as you can to get as much of your line out of the water. I've done videos where I've gone magnet fishing and I've shown you some of the stuff that I found in the water. It can be pretty absurd. I know there is the case where things just fall in the water and you try to catch it, you can't get it, or like you snag and it's too far away, you can't get it off the bottom or off the log, whatever you snagged on. But there's times where I found just like tangles of stuff just like sitting in the water, and that really does not ever need to happen. It harms the fishing, it ruins the water. The longer it happens, the longer it goes on, the more it happens, you find fishing gets worse and harder. Now I know lakes, big lakes and reservoirs don't have as much of an issue in the middle of the lake as much as anywhere along the bank. Me primarily a bank banger, and I'm sure most of my viewers are anyway. This is something that we need to understand, something that we need to pass along, pay forward, and make sure everyone's obeying respect to the land, respect to the water, which ties into my number 1. The number 1 respect that fishermen need to pay is respect the fish. That goes along with respecting their gear, respecting other anglers, respecting the land, respecting the water, because you make the living conditions easier for the fish, but also treat the fish with respect. Don't ever needlessly harm a fish. That's one of the things my grandpa taught me, the one who taught me the love of fishing, and what I try to pass along in this channel since day 1 is respect the fish. If you harm the fish, you have no right, you have no privilege to catch that fish. Get it off the hook as soon as you can, get it back in the water as soon as you can, don't play with it, don't show it off to everyone, don't run up and down the bank. I've seen places where a kid will catch a trout and will run from one end of the lake to the other to show someone and then run back, and by the time they get back, the fish is dead. If you catch a fish and you intend to tag it or just harvest it for food or whatever, do everything you can to make the fish pass on harmlessly. Like I've demonstrated in my how to catch stock trout video, how you can use your fillet knife to immediately kill a trout by stabbing into its brain. They don't feel a thing. They're immediately gone, and it's the most merciful and painless way to kill a fish. Or if it's a certain fish where you have to bleed the gills, do that as soon as you can. You know, bonk the fish on the head so they're mostly stunned. They really can't tell what's going on. You have no reason to brutalize a fish. If you catch a fish that you don't intend to harvest and you gut hook the fish, just clip the line right above the hook. The hook will break down in the fish's stomach. It's better than trying to rip the hook out, ripping the fish's guts out, and then giving the fish a chance to survive with half its stomach in its mouth. Or worse, it's already bleeding to death. But also, if you catch a fish that you don't intend to harvest and its gills are bleeding, one thing you can do is a can of soda, carbonated water. I've actually started keeping a can of carbonated water, just plain carbonated water, in my tackle bag, because the carbonated water, if you catch a fish and its gills start to bleed and it's bleeding pretty heavily, you can pour that carbonated liquid in the fish's mouth, and the carbonation, the way it affects the gills, it helps seal the bleeding, so when you put the fish back in the water, its chances of survival skyrocket. The bottom line, if you catch a fish and it's bleeding from the gills heavily, get it back in the water as soon as you can. I've demonstrated this with bass fishing, is when you catch a large bass, a heavier bass, something that's like 2 pounds or heavier, and you've got it by the lip so you can like take a picture or whatever, don't turn it sideways just by the lip, because it actually really damages the fish's jaw. Pick the fish up by the tail, but hold on to the lip. Have the tail weight supported on this hand and hold on to the fish this way. And the same thing, if you had the fish out of the water for a while and the fish needs to be revived, just stick it in the water, let it bite on your thumb, let the fish revive itself. It'll sit there, it'll recover its strength, it'll get oxygen back into it from the water. Don't just huck the fish back in the water. Unless the fish is bleeding, in which case I'd say getting it in the water sooner is better. Yeah, seriously, this is why we do it, is catching the fish. And if you can't respect the fish you catch, you really have no right to catch them. I know, kind of going dad mode on this, but it's something that needs to be said. It's something that a lot of fishermen don't want to hear, but they need to hear, and sometimes it need to be reminded of. And even people that are around other fishermen in public places, they need to know these things too. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything I missed, or there's any respects that are important to you guys that you felt should have been included in this video. Please comment down below. Let's keep this conversation going. And again, I am trying to get this channel to grow to 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that. So if you could please hit that subscribe button down there, and the notify bell next to it, so you're going to be the first to see all the great content that's going to come from this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.